this summer.
Tropical Storm Hillary causing widespread damage.
Why are honeybees overworked in the Pacific Northwest?
With warmer falls, they're flying later and more often.
And see the dust storm that unexpectedly rolled over the Texas Panhandle.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
And good morning, everyone, and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Angela Brown. One meteorologist calls it an insane amount of rain. East Texas is already soaked, and now folks there are preparing for flooding. Flood watches are posted across the area this morning. Another 10 inches of rain could fall over the next few days. The ground already saturated. Some places have seen a year's worth of rain since January. Amy Kiley has details.
Some forecasters are calling it a nightmare scenario for weather. Southern states are already waterlogged from this month's severe weather. Now some areas could get as much as 3 inches of rain per hour during new rounds of storms. Forecasters say parts of Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi could see significant flash flooding today. Storms could stretch into Alabama, Georgia, and Florida tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little harrowing.
Some communities in the path of these new storms are still picking up the pieces from previous ones.
We have been through several hurricanes here, and through all of the cleanup and stuff that we've done, this is probably the worst I've ever seen this facility in 20 years.
He's talking about this baseball field in Louisiana's West Baton Rouge Parish. It's damaged from a deadly storm Monday. Houston's Hobby Airport has a freshly repaired runway after a lightning strike Monday. I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
And Central Texas could sure use that rain. The U.S. Drought Monitor shows us some places are still under an extreme drought. Monique Lopez takes a closer look at the water worries.
Don't let the little bit of rain we've got fool you. We're still in trouble.
The month of May is traditionally one of the wettest months in Central Texas, and it hasn't disappointed. With the blistering summers we've experienced, Texas is now in a historic drought, so any drop of rain is much needed. But the Central Texas Coalition says it's still not enough.
It's going to take some tropical storms or a hurricane to help us out this summer. We're hard to hope for devastation. We don't want that, but we definitely need some good rain.
For rain to make any difference in our lakes, the Lower Colorado River Authority says it needs to fall in just the right place. Ideally, that's inside the watershed, which flows into the Highland Lakes, which is north and west of Austin. So, did that happen this time?
It did.
The Central Texas Water Coalition says low lake levels are extremely concerning because once the water is gone, it's gone for good. This, it says, makes water conservation more critical than ever.
We do not have a backup supply. I actually had a neighbor ask me, isn't there another pipe we can connect into? No, there's not. There is no other source. We have to realize that it is truly the most valuable resource we have. We cannot survive without water.
And now let's turn to Tennessee, where storms last week not only spawned tornadoes, but also triggered flooding. Kylie Walker has more from outside of Nashville.
Cars submerged in flood waters, with more than a foot of water also rushing into homes.
I got veggie drawers full of sewage and swamp water.
CJ Patterson walks us through his home.
As you see, we still got inches of mud and dirt.
It's where his family woke up to a flooded home. His kids rushing to grab their drowning pets, and the teen boy now left with anxiety.
He wants nothing to do with this house. He won't go in it when we come back. It's changed a lot in just a matter of seconds.
Patterson tells me that morning his family lost their car and most of their possessions along with their home.
The damage is probably 4 times worth the amount the house is worth.
And across the street, it's a similar story for his mother, Lisa. She tells me she paid $30,000 for her home 2 decades ago, but the damage costs are racking up. That's upwards of $100,000.
We don't know what to do because if we fix everything and it does it again, then, we don't know what to do.
The Pattersons tell me flooding issues have got progressively worse over the years after it was deemed a flood zone in 2012. But never this bad.
They dug out the Stones River, and that was supposed to help too. And they said this is the first time we've been flooded in the house, and that's after they did all that.
Now I'm told most people living on this street have had to move out of their home due to unlivable conditions. And with rain in the forecast in the coming days, residents here tell me that they're very worried for any more damage, let alone future damage once those repairs are complete.
And people living in South Florida are facing a second straight day of record heat. Highs are expected to soar into the upper 90s, but it will feel like 100 to 108 with that humidity. Tomorrow, though, could be much the same as well. The heat also raises the risk of severe storms with strong winds, hail, lightning later this afternoon and also into the evening. Firefighters battling wildfires in Canada are getting some help from Mother Nature. Winds that were expected to fan the flames have not materialized. Now that has helped to prevent many of the fires from spreading to nearby towns, but smoke is still drifting into the U.S., causing the air to be unhealthy in some regions. Meteorologist Christian Bridges has more.
Canadian wildfire smoke, once again a problem here in 2024. We've got massive fires burning out in Western Canada once again. We've already seen some of that smoke working its way into the United States. The cause, just like last year, it's terrible drought in Western Canada. Notice all these shades of yellows, oranges, and reds in the western portion of the country. Yeah, we've got really bad drought going on there. It was an incredibly warm and dry winter, as is pretty typical in an El Nino year like we just saw. And that has allowed a very early start to the fire season. Now, the jet stream this time of year, May, June, July, and August, tends to be going across Canada. So it's able to pick up that smoke, and any dips to the south of the jet stream pulls that smoke into the United States. So that's why we're seeing major reductions in air quality and smoky skies in the Midwest right now. For comparison, here's what the drought looked like in Western Canada at this point last year, of course, which ended up being a notoriously terrible wildfire season for them. And we saw major impacts in the United States with very smoky skies off and on through the summer. So starting off this year with even worse drought, not a good look for smoky skies. So while the smoke abates this week, I would expect more smoke in our skies at times this summer.
And now to the Pacific Northwest, where warming temperatures have honeybees working way too much, and it's not a good thing here. Kelly Koopmans explains.
They're the workhorses of agriculture, but is that famous work ethic of honeybees spelling disaster for their colonies? A new study out of Washington State University says yes. It found warmer autumnal weather is luring honeybees out of the hive at a time they should be staying inside.
When they're in there, they're sort of in a kind of a hibernation state. I mean, they're active, but most importantly, they're not aging.
The study focused on bees in the Pacific Northwest and found with warmer falls, they're flying later and more often, oftentimes working themselves to death during a time they should be in the protection of the colony. Then, when flight begins in the spring, there are fewer viable bees and the colonies can collapse. Study authors say even small amounts of warming in our climate will have an immediate impact.
With climate change, we tend to focus on hot summers and extremes and things like that. But even small changes in temperatures in seasons like fall that we don't usually pay attention to can exacerbate the issues.
To fight back, researchers are trying to create artificial winters by keeping bees in indoor refrigerators, where the bee's hot streak of work is put on ice.
Placing bees in these refrigerated storage facilities allows them to control the temperature so that we can keep them in a winter-like state regardless of what the outdoor temperatures are.
And now look at this time-lapse video of a haboob blowing north of Amarillo, Texas on Wednesday. A haboob is a dust storm that forms when there is a mix of strong winds from nearby thunderstorms and also dry conditions. In the U.S., they are seen most often in the southwestern part of the country. They're most common, though, in the Middle East, which is where the name haboob originates. It's derived from the Arabic word hab, which means wind. If you notice the camera there shaking, winds from this haboob blew up to 92 miles per hour. Did you know NASA, as well, has been working to give sound to space? If you want to know more about that, check out this week's episode of our podcast, Off the Radar. It's all about the sounds of the universe. You can find Off the Radar anywhere you get your podcasts. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we'll look at how floods from last year are still having a major impact in Nevada. And it was a relatively warm winter in Wisconsin. Find out what this means for local lake fly populations.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with Look at the Northeast. We have some wet weather for parts of the Northeast during the morning hours today. Notice some heavy downpours through parts of New England. Elsewhere, parts of New York especially, you'll see more in the way of some sun. That's going to lead to a wide range in temperatures, 50s and 60s. Some parts of the Northeast will warm into the 70s. It's a mixture of clouds and sun heading into our Friday, and we'll probably play games of some fog near the immediate coastline. Look at these temperatures ranging from upper 50s to upper 70s.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Jabali. Here's a look at the Mid-Atlantic region. Your Thursday starts out with mostly cloudy skies, but some occasional breaks may give us some sunshine here and there. Low pressure offshore is just going to keep the clouds moving in, but otherwise we should be mostly dry all the way through Friday afternoon. Good chance for some rainfall to come late Friday night into Saturday morning. Temperatures should recover, though. If we get any sunshine, we'll hit near 80 degrees. If we see that again on Friday, we should at least be in the 70s.
I'm meteorologist Vitas Reed. Here's a look at your southeast forecast highs for the day. Looking at Birmingham at 86 degrees, Mobile 89, a hot one there. 93 in Jacksonville, Raleigh 81 degrees, but those 90s are very strong down in parts of South Florida with heat index numbers in the low 100s as we see that heat turned up. We have a lot of sunshine over the southeast. Looking at Atlanta and Raleigh down the I-95 corridor down through Birmingham and Tuscaloosa, looking nice and sunny. Our next weather maker moves out of Texas as we go through the next few days.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
This double rainbow spotted in Montana earlier in the week. The secondary rainbow forms outside the primary one, and the second rainbow's colors are reversed and not as bright as the first rainbow because the light has been refracted twice. Now to the Great Smoky Mountains, where this mama bear and cubs were seen enjoying a spring day.
For more content like this, like the National Weather Desk on Facebook.
And now to some disappointing news for folks who like to and are looking forward to summer hiking near Las Vegas. Many popular trails are closed thanks to devastating flooding nearly 1 year ago. Denise Roche explains.
Some of the most popular trailheads will remain closed throughout the summer. We're talking Bristlecone, Cathedral Rock, and Mary Jane Falls. And this really is an issue of safety. The trails were washed out during flooding in August. Tropical Storm Hillary causing widespread damage. However, 99% of the mountain is open, so the advice is find a new favorite trail this season. Still, the closures do hurt.
The rain has devastated things, and so we're very hopeful that things can open back up for us because the options down in the lower areas are way too hot to hike, so this is basically our only option.
When will these trails open?
I wish I could give you a great answer. The biggest thing that we're working right now is we have trail experts coming down the end of this month to really assess Mary Jane, come up with a good long-term plan. Obviously, we don't want to find ourselves in the situation where we rebuild and it's also in a drainage and this happens again, right? So we're trying our best to find solutions to make and realign a new trail.
And funding, of course, will be a big portion of when all this cleanup will be done, something that the Forest Service is working on right now.
You know, creepy callers aren't so bad when it's only one or maybe even two of them, but what happens when they are everywhere? Well, it's officially Mormon cricket season in northern Nevada. Andrea Esparza shows us there are way too many to count.
The 2-inch creatures are small, but when they travel by the millions, they can become intimidating.
It was kind of a creepy feeling. You looked out the windows and there were dozens and thousands of bugs, and the entire lawn in the back was moving.
Mormon crickets are not dangerous to humans, but they are an inconvenience, especially for Jesse Hall Elementary School, as their unwelcome guests push them inside.
For the last 2 days, we have had no outside recess because yesterday it felt like the plague. The Mormon Crickets were all over, and they used blowers to move it away so that we could get students safely into the front doors without getting crickets inside, and they are still here.
The creepy crawlers are not new to Nevada, but they seem to come back stronger every year.
Nature occurs whether or not we have a purpose for it. So they exist in our landscape. Most of the time we don't interact with them when they're at lower population levels, but obviously they tend to collide with us when they're at higher population levels, whether it's in home or crop situations or on roads.
Mormon crickets always find a way to come back, disrupting the lives of many, including students. But teachers are seeing this event as an opportunity to teach about the life cycle of Mormon crickets. In Reno, I'm Andrea Esparza, and is anybody else itchy?
I am. Every year it signifies a change in seasons along lakes in Wisconsin. Lake flies are out after hatching this month, but are the swarms as large as years before? Andrew Merton's headed to Lake Winnebago to get a look.
Camping season is ramping up across northeast Wisconsin, including at Calumet County Park, and a familiar critter has returned. Park leaders say they first noticed lake flies the week before Mother's Day.
Just a few here or there, nothing like we're seeing right now. Right now the hatch seems to be pretty thin so far, but with the warm weather that might increase.
Park officials believe cooler temperatures and wind along the lake have played a factor in what seems to be a smaller population currently. It's safe to say the number of flies, or lack thereof, came as a bit of a surprise.
We thought we'd have a really big hatch this year just with the warmer weather that we had earlier in April. We thought they might be a little bit early, but then with the cooler temperatures, seem to be delayed to their normal time.
With warmer weather expected this weekend, Lindsay Meyer with the Calumet County Parks Office says we could see more flies hatch.
Once they hatch, it can get pretty ugly down by the lake.
A little further north at High Cliff State Park, it's a similar story. Campers say they haven't seen as many lake flies to start the season, but expect to see more as the temperature warms up.
Once the water temperature warms up a little bit more, like 5-10 degrees, they'll be out in full force all over the trees in your house.
The flies may be a bit of a pest for those wanting to enjoy the lake shore, but aren't a harm.
Lake flies actually don't have a functioning mouth, so they aren't eating anything and they're definitely not biting, so just a nuisance a little bit.
One of nature's big concerts is underway. The great cacophony of cicadas. Meteorologist Barry Brand got a hold of some video that gives a snapshot of how many bugs have emerged.
Well, a rare occurrence this year when multiple broods of cicadas, which have been in the ground either 13 or 17 years, all emerge from out of the ground, and we're seeing it all over the place. Take a look at this video from near Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and listen.
Cicada hunting. Cicada hunting.
Hundreds and hundreds of cicadas in that tree alone. Scientists estimate that trillions of those cicadas are out there, and they're making a deafening roar in some areas.
Weather in the Washington, D.C. area has been a little bit on the damp side lately. Meteorologist Veronica Johnson noticed some amphibians are appearing more often.
On lawns, on driveways, on sidewalks, and yes, doors. I captured this leapfrog on my glass door, just making his way up. And quite frankly, I've been seeing a lot of leapfrogs lately based on our wet weather. They, in fact, thrive when it's wet and when it's cool. And take a look, because out of the last 15 days here in D.C., Maryland, and Virginia, more specifically Reagan National, we have had rain 10 of the last 15 days. And look at the surplus. We're getting close to 1 inch above average already for this month of May. And this weekend, we're calling for more rainfall right here in the D.C. area. Likely to be seeing more of these guys pop up this month of spring with the wet weather.
And now let's check to see the weather in cities across the country today. We begin in Middletown, Rhode Island, where there is plenty of rain that will last throughout the day. Highs, though, in the upper 50s. Next, we head over to Chicago, Illinois, where skies are cloudy this morning. Scattered showers and thunderstorms are expected this afternoon, with highs in the mid-70s. Heading south now to Wilmington, North Carolina, where skies are partly cloudy today with a high of 80 degrees. And we'll finish things off in New Orleans, where skies are partly to mostly cloudy with highs in the upper 80s. And time now for a short break, but first let's soar over beautiful Montana.
Good Thursday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buck-Michael. Warming up out across the plains, close to 80 degrees, but we have some rain moving its way closer to the Great Lakes and the Ohio Valley as we go through the day today, and it continues moving to the east heading into your Friday. Look at those temperatures, though, heating up into the upper 80s across the plains with a lot of sunshine for Friday and Saturday. Temperatures still staying pretty warm for most of the Midwest, getting up to 90 in Wichita there on Saturday, with most of the region fairly dry.
Good Thursday morning to you. Meteorologist Chris Huchan. Look at our forecast today across the region, and we'll be on the lookout for strong to severe storms, a flooding risk as well, developing across central Texas, East Texas, Louisiana through the day. May even get a strong storm or two in northern Arkansas. There you see this big complex of storms that erupts, moves to the east with wind, hail, and flooding rain potential. Highs will be a little cooler in the 70s and 80s. We step into Friday's forecast, the risk for a few strong to severe storms, mainly East Texas across Louisiana.
Well, hi there and a good Thursday morning to everybody. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell. Desert Southwest continuing to soar into the 90s to near 100 degrees today. Vegas included at 97. Notice the cool temps along the California coastline. That's because the May Gray is back in business through the Golden Gate Bridge. That's that fog and stratus. Meanwhile, in the PNW, here comes the next weather maker. A set of spring showers going to drop today into Seattle and eventually Portland. And that's the scene from here.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
A name has gained popularity for some newborn baby girls, and it has something to do with a recent natural phenomenon that showed up in unexpected places. Meteorologist Peter Hall took to Instagram with a look at the numbers.
Hey there, meteorologist Peter Hall. The Northern Lights, a big hit across the country, even the Florida Keys. Seeing a spectacle like this, really unusual to see it that far south. Even more unusual, which isn't meteorological, thought this was kind of interesting, found this. Take a look at the name Aurora. Now, I get it. The percent of names for female births for the name Aurora is still pretty small compared to many other names. But as of last year, the name Aurora had its highest percentage on record. And I wonder if maybe 2024, with the Northern Lights, the Aurora Borealis happening in such strong circumstances, I wonder if the name is even higher next year. We'll find out.
Well, looking for more great weather content, check us out on social media. You can find us on all of your favorite platforms. Just search the National Weather Desk. We'll be right back. you so much for joining us. I'm Angela Brown. Make it a great Thursday. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.